Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, I've been looking at a bunch of really cool little illustrations of little traveler pods, little robots, walkers, hovercrafts, those kind of things. So I thought, ooh, I want to make like a little vehicle that's like a little droid hovercraft thing. So I was looking in my garage at some materials that I have, and I was looking at wood. And I kind of want it to be more like a little block or a rectangle. And I was looking at wood, and I thought, I don't know, it might be really difficult to work with. And then I found these little pieces of molding that I used on some project. I can't remember, but it is some sort of plastic. I don't know if it's a polystyrene or a polypropylene. I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's going to glue really nicely, and it cuts really easily. And then I've got these really cool little metal things, little things from my bits box that one of my viewers had sent me. So I'm going to try and make a cool little vehicle. Come on, let's do it. Alright, here's that molding that I was talking about. You can see I've cut this down into two smaller pieces, and I cut a little angle at the bottom there. I think it just gives a really cool aesthetic to it. I'm not sure if I like it smashed together. I might do a little gap, but you can see the end of this has these weird little like bumpy texture, air pockets almost. So all I'm going to do is take some polystyrene from my scrap bin, super glue it on, and then you can see you just score it with the X-Acto knife, and you just trim that down. And so I'm going to kind of do that all the way through every edge. And then once this is glued down and trimmed up, all I need to do is get some sandpaper, sand this down, and it looks really nice. I found this piece of basswood, and this looks pretty cool. It gives a nice little separation. So I think I'm going to glue this down, and I think it's going to give the aesthetic just a little bit more interest. Yeah, I'm liking that. So kind of in my mind now, since this is a transport, this will be like a hinge, and maybe the top swings open and you can put really valuable cargo inside. So just gluing this little washer thing, I don't even know what it is, but gluing that down, then another little washer inside. Here's my little parts bin that I kind of scavenged some stuff and thought this looks pretty great. A little piece of scrap polystyrene, just cutting little rectangles. To be honest, I have no clue the direction that I'm going. I'm just kind of building this, laying it out, and doing it as I go, and if it looks cool to me, I'll glue it down. This is a foot from a Gundam, but it actually looks like a really nice little hinge. So I'm going to put that on the back, and again, maybe this whole thing like lifts up, or I'm not sure. I think it's just kind of a cool little aesthetic piece. So I'm gluing that down, and yeah, I think that's going to work out pretty great. This is kind of the fun of doing a scratch build like this, because I'm kind of making the story up in my head as I go, and all these little things do different things in my mind. I have no rhyme or reason. It's just kind of this fun narrative that I'm making. So you can see I'm just kind of gluing and trimming little pieces here and there, sanding them down. Now, I was playing with this little piece, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. If I glue this on, I can almost make this like a latch that holds the whole thing together. Like if it's closed, you want to latch it down. So I had this piece drop down, and then I'm going to put a little tiny piece kind of crossing that, kind of bridging that gap. And later on I'll paint that silver, and I think, yeah, that looks like a really cool little latch. So this isn't necessarily a droid per se, but it does need some sort of eye or optic to see. So this is a Gundam part that I found, just gluing that on. And then just taking a little piece of polystyrene, and I'm actually just doing really small slivers, and this actually makes really cool little rivets for me. I know there's lots of different ways to make rivets, but this is a cool way that works for me. So instead of just gluing all the parts on, I'm going to make some panel lines, and I'm just scoring it with my X-Acto knife. And then I'm taking my little punch tool and just rescoring it again, and it gives some really nice grooves and panel lines, and I think it's going to add a really nice effect. I found this little exhaust from a tank, and I glued it down. I thought, this looks really cool, and I thought, oh yeah, I forgot I have to mirror the other side, so I forgot to do my hinge. So I'll go ahead and put this hinge on, put the little washer on, and then I'm going to have to kind of fit the exhaust, but no problem. I just moved it up a little bit, and that still works pretty great. Alright, that's looking great. So I really feel like some wire on the back of this will give it a really cool mechanical feel, but not going to glue this on just yet. Wait till I paint it. Found this old SIM card in my bits box, and it just makes a really great panel. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on and just gluing on some other little scraps of polystyrene just to make some cool paneling. I'm just taking my little hole punch and making a little hole for some wires. This first wire, it looks kind of lame. It was just like this U shape. So I snipped a little bit longer piece of wire, and I think the curve in the wire gives a kind of a cool aesthetic look. So I think that's going to work a lot better. I'm liking that. Here's some little parts from a tank, and they're a little bit too thick, so you can see the one on the right, I've sanded it down already, and literally all I do is I just lay it flat on my sandpaper and just kind of start scratching away until it is the height that I want it to be. So here I am just kind of sanding that down, kind of getting a little bit lower, and then once I get it to the height that I want, I'm going to go ahead and put it over this washer. I feel like it's going to give a nice aesthetic, more of like a hinge and gear type system. So I think this is going to look pretty cool. Alright, this is looking pretty sweet. And again, I'm just kind of building it as I go, just putting little parts on, and I'm liking it. I have this other little piece that I got from it was like a camera from a toy. Pulled the lens out, and this is the frame of it, so I think this is kind of cool at the top. And then I have a little black square Lego piece, and it fit perfectly inside there, so I'm going to put that on there. Here's some, maybe like conduit. It's just a little polystyrene tubing, but maybe some conduit coming down from the front lens. And I love my antennas, so I'm taking some really small polystyrene tubing, poking some holes in there, and I normally go pretty long with my antenna, and then once it's glued in, I can kind of trim that down how I want it. I was looking at it, I thought, it needs one more antenna. I kind of like the 2 antenna look on this one, so gluing that in, trim that down. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Alright, here's those little pieces that I was talking about in the beginning, and I think they look really cool, like little hover things. So I glued them on, and I realized, I kind of want to keep them metal, so when I paint them, I'm actually just going to pop this off again. So this thing is just about ready to prime, so let's go prime it. Alright, here we go. Just a Home Depot Rust-Oleum gray primer, nothing fancy. That's looking great. And then I have this like clear transparent aqua blue paint, and I just hit it really lightly a couple times, and some of the gray shows through, but it looks pretty cool. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of yellow paint in here. I'm trying to start to separate out the different components of this just so it doesn't look like a giant blue box. And this actually worked out really nice. I think it looks really great with the instep there. I'm taking some Known Oil, Citadel Known Oil. It's just a black wash, and kind of hitting just the areas that give some nice depth. Taking some silver here and just lightly running across the edges, and it just gives a little bit of a worn look. I don't want this one to be like super rusty and crusty, but I do want it to have some use to it. So I'm painting some of the gears here, and again, this is all just like finishing work. I have a little bit darker silver metallic, so I'm kind of hitting some of the other accents. So I have light silver and dark silver, painting the camera lens on the front there, painting the foot there, and this is looking really good. I'm gonna start wrapping this up. I think a few more little touches. I'm gonna get some decals on this thing from some old Gundam parts. I'm gonna make a little diorama. I'm just taking some Mod Podge and a little bit of tile grout, and I'd kind of just brush it on there and dusted it, and it turned out pretty cool. I tried to make it look like the hover made a little indentation in the dirt there, so I'm gonna dust the bottom of this just a little bit so it looks like it's been working, and I'm going to use a little piece of flower wire to help make this thing hover. So this thing is just about wrapped up.
Alright, so that turned out really cool, and I think the diorama really helps set it apart, and it just looks really great. So let's take some turnaround shots Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, and as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a good one.